Tale 2020. The topic of the paper is academic writing in the online platform, a success, a failure, or something in between. A study on perceptions of higher education students and teachers in the UAE. The authors of this paper are myself, Ajrina Hysaj, and Doaa Hamam. The study was carried out for trying to understand the perceptions of undergraduate students and teachers and the extent of the challenges that and the success of switching to the online platform. Obviously, this study was carried out straight after the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, when we shifted from face-to-face to the online platform. The method of study was we had two Likert scale surveys, which were given to students and teachers in higher education institutions in the UAE, aiming to explore the perceptions of students and teachers with regards to the challenges of teaching academic writing in the online platform. UAE is a very multicultural society, and the universities in the UAE are generally multicultural universities. This paper aimed to try to understand the development and the way that academic writing skills can be utilized in the online platform. The techniques that were used were techniques of sophisticated and discipline-related vocabulary. So there were complex and compound grammar, which were displayed in a format that was an academic register. Now, the purpose of this of academic writing skills correlates with the ability to actually continue university studies. In other words, you cannot study in university unless you know how to write academically. This is absolutely important for graduate and undergraduate students. So basically, the amount of information that is being analyzed is as crucial as the amount of information that is being produced, so in the form of academic. Now, for the literature review, we had three main points. So one of them was analyzing the student perspective from a social, academic, and psychological dynamics. Social has to do with the substantial lack of social awareness and social setting. So basically, the knowledge clues and experience were just from one side. It was from instructors to the learners, and not the other way around. Social, of course, had to do with how much students were engaged in the online platform and how much they were engaged with each other and how much they were engaged with the teacher or the lecturer. Academic changes. Obviously, the curriculum alignment was very, very important, and lots of changes had to occur to suit the online platform and to pave the way to lifelong learning experience. Generally speaking, the long-term presence of online platform can destroy the desire of students to socialize, and eventually will not really be sufficient for them when they go to the working. Teachers' perspectives from the same. So we analyze teachers from social, academic, and psychological dynamics. So dynamics were the same. A considerable number of teachers were not trained to teach online, and maybe as a result, they were resilient to the concepts itself and to the online platform, basically. Obviously, teachers needed to break down the notions of audience, purpose, and organization. Of style while designing the matter being taught. So, and of course, when they considered the intended learning outcomes, assessment tasks, and generally the activities online. It was very important that teachers or lecturers gave clear instructions to students in the online platform, explaining the purpose of doing the task, the concepts besides doing the tasks, and instructing them to complete the task individually and collaboratively with their classmates. Basically, adaptation of classroom materials to suit the online platform. Uh, as mentioned in the word of Kanaragaja, the critical and analytical writing are a substantial part of the second language acquisition. So it's very important that students work with each other, and they will eventually develop critical and analytical thinking while they are trying to explain what they want to do in a different. So the method of study that we used was a quantitative method, and was, as I mentioned, a survey for both teachers and students. And about was of course about COVID-19 pandemic. There the two surveys were designed by using the Likert scale questions from strongly agree to strongly disagree, and the sample was a random sample really of 100 students who are enrolled in undergraduate program in an international university in the UAE, and 22 teachers who teach undergraduate students in different universities. Student survey, the results of student survey. Um, they were comfortable. Students were comfortable with online learning. They didn't really face a lot of internet-related problems, maybe because the study was carried out in the UAE. Obviously, if study is carried out elsewhere, maybe the results would be different, but in the UAE there wasn't much problem. The results showed that the students were academically satisfied with the online presence and with the assessments. Teachers on the other side were as well comfortable. However, they were able to use appropriate pedagogical strategies. Again, they didn't have much of technological problems. Nevertheless, they did have problems with the LMS, and they managed the learning management system. They managed to handle it, but they still needed training for learning how to deal with it with more efficacy. So the discussion basically is that the shifting to online platform was not as overwhelming as previously thought for both teachers and students, uh, as studies have highlighted that generally teachers had to receive feedback and practical guidance and advice from their subject coordinators prior to the online learning. For the sake of the study, there was pre-training given to teachers, so maybe that's why the teachers, the responses were not negative. In contrary, they were overwhelming positive. Uh, Now, the lack of student procedures to study online was a challenge, which obviously is pretty much the same as was mentioned in the studies. And well, something which was not done on this study, but it could be proven successfully, is provision of badges for students, aiming to cultivate active online engagement. And online engagement, presence, and reflections on learning were substantial for students. They were part of this study, and they are known to be as very important from the perspective of. Lastly, the creation of a supportive environment, community environment in the online platform supports students' learning, and of course it allows them to understand better the matter that is taught and to communicate with their colleagues, which basically will eventually reflect on their teaching and communication perspective. And the same thing goes for teachers. So teachers will need to communicate with each other and to reflect on their teaching and the way that they communicate with their. So to conclude, it is the findings of this study indicate that academic writing can be efficiently taught and learned through the online platform, and however, obviously, teachers are to make pragmatic decisions, to know how to teach, when to, what to teach, and to reflect on their teaching. So this would allow students to improve on their abilities and eventually facilitate their students' learning and enable them to be part of academic community and be part of I mean, have a successful experience in the university. And this is the list of the reference. And this was the presentation. If you have any questions, you may ask. Thank you very much.